The battlefield was quiet now. Too quiet. Only hours before, it had been filled with the roar of engines, the scream of weapons, and the cries of warriors. Now there was nothing but smoke, fire, and the stench of blood in the air. Broken machines lay twisted in the dirt. Shattered armor and fallen bodies painted the ground with a grim story of defeat. In the middle of that silence lay an alien warrior. Her armor was cracked, her body torn, and both of her legs were gone. The battlefield had taken everything from her: her strength, her pride, her people. She had fought until the end, and when her army fell back, they left her there, broken and helpless. She lay on her back, staring at the dark sky above. Every breath came sharp and painful. She knew the truth: she was meant to die here, forgotten, alone. The wind blew ash across her face. She closed her eyes, waiting for the end. But fate was not finished with her. Through the smoke, a figure stumbled forward. Heavy boots crunched against stone. A human marine, his armor scarred and burned, dragged himself across the ruins. Blood stained his uniform, and every step looked like it might be his last. Yet his eyes burned with stubborn fire, the kind of fire only humans carried. He stopped when he saw her. For a long moment he just stood there, chest rising and falling, his breath heavy from exhaustion. His orders had been clear: retreat, regroup, leave everything behind. But here she was, an alien, their sworn enemy, broken and abandoned. He should have turned away. He should have saved his strength for himself. But he didn't in single quotes. Instead, he walked toward her. The alien warrior opened her eyes when his shadow fell. Over her, her vision was blurred, but she recognized the shape instantly. A human, enemy, killer. She tried to raise her arm, but her body betrayed her. She was too weak to fight. Her voice came out in a whisper: "End it." But the Marine didn't lift his weapon. He didn't aim for her heart. He crouched beside her, eyes scanning her wounds. His face was tired, streaked with blood and dirt, but his hands moved with focus and care. He tore strips from his own uniform and pressed them against the stumps of her legs. She flinched, expecting pain, but his touch was steady. His hands shook, not from cruelty, but from determination. "Hold on," he muttered under his breath. His voice was rough, but his tone carried something she had never heard from an enemy before: compassion. The alien stared at him in disbelief. Why? Why would a human help her? Her kind had killed his. Her army had slaughtered his comrades. And yet, here he was, refusing to leave her to die. The silence of the battlefield wrapped around them both. Only the crackle of fire and the distant groan of broken machines filled the air. The Marine slid his arm under her shoulders and lifted her. She gasped at the pain, but he did not stop. He shifted her weight against him, his own injuries slowing him. Yet his grip never loosened. Step by step, he carried her away from the altar of death the battlefield had become. Each movement was heavy, each breath was sharp, but he pressed on. Behind them, the fires burned higher. The sky flashed as distant artillery thundered in the night. The war was not over, but here, in this ruined valley, a different battle was being fought, one between cruelty and compassion, between logic and humanity. The alien's eyes fluttered. Her strength was gone, but she forced out words. Why? Why do this? The Marine did not look down at her. His jaw was tight, his eyes fixed ahead. His answer was simple: because no one deserves to be left behind. The words struck her harder than any weapon. Her own people had abandoned her, left her to die without a second thought. Yet this human, her enemy, carried her as if she was his own. Her breath shook, not from pain this time, but from something else, confusion, awe, fear, as they moved deeper. Into the ruins, the silence pressed closer, shadows stretched long, and the distant sound of patrols echoed through the smoke. The Marine tightened his grip, forcing himself forward. He was hunted, bleeding, carrying the weight of 2 lives, but he would not stop. The alien warrior closed her eyes again, not in surrender this time, but in wonder. For the first time since the battle began, she felt something she thought was impossible. Hope, and in that broken silence, among fire and ash, a bond was forged, not between allies, not between friends, but between 2 enemies, bound by one truth. Humanity refuses to walk away. Asterisk, the human Marine staggered through the smoke. The alien warrior's weight heavy on his shoulders. His armor was cracked, his wounds burned, but his grip never loosened. Each step felt like dragging himself through fire, yet he moved forward without hesitation. Behind him, the battlefield lay silent, filled with the dead. Ahead of him, the path was uncertain enemy patrols, collapsing ruins, and the darkness of night. Any sane soldier would have left her behind. Any soldier following orders would have chosen survival over mercy. But this one was human, and humans were different. He pressed her against the wall of a shattered bunker, lowering her carefully to the ground. The alien warrior winced, her face pale, her breathing shallow. Her once-proud armor hung in pieces, barely covering the damage that war had left on her body. The Marine tore open his field kit. His hands were clumsy, shaking from exhaustion, but his eyes stayed sharp. He worked quickly, wrapping her wounds, tightening makeshift bandages to stop the bleeding. The alien stared at him through half-lidded eyes. Her people had abandoned her. They had seen her broken and decided she was no longer worth saving. Yet this human, her sworn enemy, was fighting for her life with every shred of strength he had left. "Why?" she whispered, her voice thin as smoke. "Why not finish me? Why not leave me?" The Marine did not answer at first. He tightened another bandage, checked her pulse, then sat back with a heavy sigh. His own blood stained the dirt beneath him, but he didn't care. His gaze was fixed on her. "Because that's not what we do," he said finally. His voice was low, rough from pain, but steady. "No warrior deserves to be left behind, not even you." Her eyes widened slightly. The words confused her more. Then the pain. In her world, mercy was weakness. Soldiers who fell were abandoned. Honor was found in dying, not in surviving. Yet this human spoke as if saving her was a duty stronger than any law. The Marine leaned back against the wall, exhaustion dragging at his body. For a moment, silence filled the air between them. The wind carried ash across the ruins, and distant gunfire echoed like ghosts. The alien spoke again, her voice trembling. "My people, they left me. Why would you not?" The Marine looked up at the night sky, where faint stars peeked through the smoke. His eyes narrowed as if remembering battles long past. "Because we don't quit," he said. "We don't leave our own. And sometimes, even an enemy deserves better than this." The words struck her like lightning. She had spent her life believing humans were monsters, destroyers, a plague on the stars. Yet sitting beside this broken Marine, she saw something else. Not a monster, not a destroyer, but something far more dangerous, compassion. He pulled himself to his feet, groaning from the pain. We move. If they find us here, we're both dead. She tried to protest, her voice weak. You can't carry me far. You'll fall before I do. The Marine crouched and slid his arm under her once more, lifting her against him. His teeth clenched, his body shook, but he carried her as if the weight did not matter. I'll fall when I'm dead, he muttered, not before. Step by step, he pushed forward, carrying her deeper into the ruins. Each sound in the distance made his heart pound. Patrols searched the battlefield. Enemy drones scanned the skies. Yet still, he carried her. The alien closed. Her eyes, her thoughts spinning. Why risk everything for her? Why fight so hard for someone who should be nothing to him? She did not understand, but she felt it. With every step, with every breath he forced through broken ribs, she felt the truth. This was not weakness. This was not madness. This was something only humans seemed to carry. Hope. The Marine paused as they reached the mouth of a broken tunnel. He set her down gently, his chest heaving, his breath ragged. He looked back toward the battlefield, then forward into the dark. This isn't just survival, he said quietly, almost to himself. This is what makes us human. We don't leave anyone behind, not even you. The alien warrior stared at him, her body broken, her spirit shaken. She had been abandoned by her own kind, yet saved by the very enemy she was taught to hate. And, for the first time in her life, she felt something she had never known before: trust. The ruins stretched before them like a maze of broken steel and stone. Smoke drifted through the shattered walls, and the air carried the heavy smell of fire and blood. Every step echoed too loudly. Every shadow felt like it was watching. The human Marine carried the alien warrior as carefully as he could. His body screamed with pain, his ribs burned, his legs trembled, but he refused to stop. The alien's head rested against his shoulder, her eyes half closed, though her mind was sharp. She could feel his heart pounding, strong and steady, even as exhaustion pulled at him. In the distance, the sound of boots and the buzz of drones grew louder. Enemy patrols searched the battlefield for survivors. If they were found, there would be no mercy. The Marine paused at a broken archway, lowering the alien gently to the ground. His breath came heavy, his chest rising and falling like a drumbeat of war. He pressed his back against the wall and scanned the shadows. The alien warrior opened her eyes, weak but watchful. "You are hunted," she whispered. "They will kill you for saving me." The Marine didn't answer right away. He tightened the grip on his weapon, a rifle with cracked metal and fading power cells. His voice was steady when he finally spoke. "Then let them try." She stared at him, her mind torn. "Why risk this? I am your enemy." The Marine turned his head, meeting her gaze. His eyes were tired, bloodshot, but unwavering. "Not tonight. Tonight, you are just a warrior who deserves to live." Her chest tightened at his words. She had lived her life believing strength came from conquest, that mercy was weakness. Yet here was this human bleeding, hunted, carrying an enemy, and she could not understand him. The sound of drones passed overhead, their red lights sweeping across the ruins. The Marine dragged her quickly into a collapsed tunnel, pressing her close to the wall as the machines hovered above. His hand stayed firm against her shoulder, protective, steady. The alien whispered, "You could escape faster without me." The Marine shook his head. "Doesn't matter. I don't leave people to die." The silence between them deepened. She lowered her eyes, struggling to accept the truth. Her people had left her. Her army had called her broken and worthless. But this human, her enemy, refused to let her go. They moved deeper into the shadows. The Marine carried her when he could, dragged her when his strength failed, but never once thought of abandoning her. Hours passed. The night stretched long and cruel. One point, they stopped in the hollow of a collapsed bunker. The Marine set her down carefully, his breath ragged. He pulled out what little food he had, left dried rations. Tasteless and hard, and pressed it into her hand. "Eat," he said. She looked at him, stunned. "And you?" He shrugged, his lips curling into a faint smile. "I'll manage." She held the ration but did not eat. Her throat tightened. Never had an enemy shown her such care. Even her own kind had not. Finally, she asked the question that burned inside her. Why are humans like this? Why do you fight for others when it costs you everything? The Marine sat beside her, staring into the darkness. For a moment, he said nothing. Then his voice came low and steady. "Because we know what it means to be left behind. We've lost, we've suffered, but we always get back up. And we don't let anyone face the darkness alone." Her eyes widened. The words cut deeper than any blade. She understood now it wasn't weakness. It was strength. A strength her people did not have. Before she could speak, a sharp noise echoed. Through the ruins, voices, patrols. They were close. The Marine's head snapped up. He grabbed his rifle, his muscles tense. He turned to her quickly. "Stay quiet. Stay with me." She wanted to protest, to tell him he couldn't fight them. All but the words never left her lips. Something in his eyes silenced her, an iron will that would not bend. The patrol passed through the broken street. The Marine pressed himself against the shadows, holding his breath, his hands still resting gently on her. For a moment, the lights of the soldiers swept dangerously close, but then they moved on. The Marine exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. He turned back to her, his voice soft but firm. "See, shadows can't hold us if we keep moving." The alien warrior gazed at him, her heart torn. She had once thought humans were only chaos, only destruction. But this one man had shown her something else, something terrifying. Loyalty, compassion, hope. As the night wore on, she realized something she had never thought possible. She was no longer afraid of dying. She was afraid of what would happen if he fell. And for the first time, the alien warrior, broken and abandoned, whispered to herself a vow. "If he does not give up on me, then I will not give up on him." The ruins grew darker as the night dragged on. The human Marine pushed forward with the alien warrior leaning against him. His body ached, every muscle burned, but his grip stayed firm. He carried not just her weight, but the heavy silence of two enemies bound by survival. They had avoided patrols, escaped drones, and slipped through tunnels. But luck cannot last forever. The sharp sound of footsteps shattered the silence. Voices echoed from the broken streets ahead. Lights flared, sweeping across the rubble. An enemy squad had found their trail. The Marine froze, his breath tight. The alien warrior's hand gripped his arm, her voice low. "You can't fight them. Not like this." He glanced at her, his eyes sharp, despite exhaustion. "Then we fight anyway." Before she could argue, the first shots rang out. Blue streaks of energy tore through the night, smashing stone and metal. The Marine dragged her into cover behind a broken wall. Sparks showered down, burning holes into the ground. He raised his battered rifle and fired back. The weapon shook. In his hands, its power cell nearly drained. One enemy fell, but 3 more advanced, their weapons glowing. The alien warrior tried to push herself up, her body trembling. "Give me a weapon," she hissed. The Marine shook his head. "You're wounded. You can't." Her eyes burned with fire. "Then let me fall fighting. I will not watch you die alone." For a moment, their eyes locked. And in that silence, something shifted. She was no longer just a burden, no longer just an enemy. She was his partner in this fight. The Marine handed her a sidearm, small but deadly. She gripped it tightly, steady despite her injuries. Together, they leaned out from cover and fired. Their shots rang through the ruins, sparks of defiance against the tide of death. The enemy squad advanced quickly, their armor gleaming under the moonlight. The Marine fired until his rifle clicked empty. Without hesitation, he charged forward, swinging the weapon like a club. He struck one soldier down, then another, before collapsing back into cover. His chest heaving. The alien warrior covered him, her shots precise despite the pain. 2 more soldiers fell. The last one charged, his blade raised high. The Marine braced for the strike, but before it landed, the alien warrior pulled the trigger. The soldier dropped, the weapon clattering against stone. Silence returned. Only the sound of their ragged breathing filled the air. The Marine slumped against the wall, sweat dripping down his face. He looked at her, a faint smile breaking through. His exhaustion, not bad for someone left behind. Despite her pain, the alien warrior gave a faint laugh. And not bad for someone who should have left. The moment was brief, but it carried weight. Something invisible bound them now, forged not in words, but in fire. The Marine gathered his strength, pulling her close again. "We keep moving. More will come." As they staggered deeper into the ruins, the alien warrior studied him. His body was broken, his spirit battered, but he moved forward as if nothing could stop him. She had seen bravery before, but never like this. This was not the strength of a soldier fighting for glory. This was the strength of someone who refused to surrender, even when all hope was gone. Hours passed, filled with silence and tension. They stopped in a half-collapsed shelter, the stars faint above them. The Marine lowered her carefully, checking her wounds again. His hands shook, but his focus never faltered. She studied him quietly before speaking. "You fight for me as if I were one of your own." "Why?" He paused, meeting her gaze. His voice was quiet but firm. "Because when the fire burns and the night closes in, it doesn't matter what you are. Human, alien, it doesn't matter. What matters is that no one fights alone." Her chest tightened at his words. She had been abandoned by her people. But this human, her enemy, fought for her life without hesitation. Slowly, she reached out and touched his arm. Her voice was faint, almost trembling. "Then hear me, human. If I live, if I stand again, I will not forget this. I will not forget you." He gave a tired smile, his eyes closing for a moment. "Fair enough." And as the night passed, they sat together in silence. 2 broken warriors bound by something greater than war. What began as survival had become something else. A bond, a fire stronger than fear, a promise that even in the darkest ruins, humanity's light would never fade. The first light of dawn broke across the ruins. The smoke of the battlefield rose into the sky, glowing orange under the rising sun. The human, Marine, and the alien warrior sat in the shadow of a broken tower, their bodies battered, their spirits heavy but unbroken. For hours they had fought off patrols, slipping through shadows, trading blood for survival. Now silence filled the ruins again, but it was not peace. It was the calm before the storm. The alien warrior's breathing was shallow. Her body trembled, and every movement sent pain through her shattered frame. She looked at the Marine, his face pale from blood loss, yet his eyes still sharp. Scanning the horizon, "They will come again," she whispered. He nodded slowly. "Then we'll meet them." Even as he said the words, they both knew the truth. He had little ammunition left. His strength was fading. Alone, he might have slipped away, but he had chosen not to be alone, and that choice was about to define them both. The sound came soon after Boots' armor, the thundering march of soldiers, a full squad, maybe more, moving through the ruins with purpose. The enemy had found them. The Marine stood slowly, his rifle in his hands. The weapon was cracked, nearly empty, but his grip was steady. He turned to the alien warrior. "Stay low, I'll hold them off." Her eyes burned as she struggled to push herself upright. "No, we stand together." He almost argued, but the fire in her gaze silenced him. Broken, abandoned, she still carried the spirit of a fighter. And in that moment, he knew he had not just saved her body. He had saved her will. The soldiers appeared through the smoke, their weapons raised, their commander shouting orders. "There," he roared. "The human and the traitor, kill them both." The Marine raised his rifle and fired. The first shot struck true, dropping a soldier. The alien warrior, her arms trembling, lifted the sidearm he had given her and fired as well. Her shots cracked through the ruins, forcing the enemy to scatter. The squad surged forward, weapons blazing. Energy bolts ripped the stone apart, sending shards flying. The Marine moved like a wall of defiance, shielding the alien with his body, his shots measured, precise. She fired beside him, her face twisted with pain, but her will unshaken. For every soldier that fell, two more pressed forward. The Marine's rifle clicked empty. With a growl, he swung it like a club, striking one soldier down. Another charged, blade flashing, but the alien warrior fired at the last second. Saving him, they fought back to back, human and alien, against impossible odds. The commander stepped forward, his blade glowing with energy. His voice was filled with hatred. "You should have left her to die, human. Now you will both perish." The Marine spat blood, raising his weapon like a spear. His voice came low but steady. "Maybe, but not today." The commander lunged, striking with deadly force. The Marine met him head-on, steel against fire. Their weapons clashed, sparks flying. The alien warrior, dragging herself forward, fired again and again. Forcing the other soldiers to hesitate, the commander pressed hard, his strength overwhelming. The Marine staggered, his body barely holding together, but his eyes never dimmed. He roared, shoving the blade aside, and drove his weapon into the commander's chest. The enemy leader fell, his armor cracking, his body hitting the dirt with a heavy thud. Silence followed. The remaining soldiers froze, their courage shattered. They looked at the human, bloodied but standing, and the alien warrior, broken but unbowed. Fear spread through their ranks. Slowly they retreated, dragging their fallen with them, until the ruins were empty once more. The Marine collapsed to one knee, his chest heaving. The alien warrior crawled closer, her trembling hand resting on his arm. Her voice was weak, but her words carried the weight of truth. They will tell this story, she whispered, of the human who refused to abandon an enemy, of the warrior who stood when all others fell. This will not be forgotten. The Marine gave a tired smile, his eyes lifting to the rising sun. Good, let them remember. She looked at him for a long moment, then closed her eyes. You should have left me. He shook his head slowly. That's not what humans do. The light of dawn spread across the battlefield, painting the ruins in gold. The war was not over. Their struggle was far from finished. But something greater had begun that day. A legend, the story of a human who carried hope where none remained. The story of an alien who found faith in her enemy. The story of how compassion, even on the edge of death, could change the stars. And as the sun rose higher, one truth burned brighter than all the fires of war: humanity does not walk away.